Hello, people. If you've been here before, welcome back. This is the first time. This is my channel. I'm Dr. Pini Savannah. And this is a series of video tutorials. If you want to do better in TOEFL test, you can take this series of tutorials individually, independently, or if you are taking a TOEFL preparation course, they can help you with your studies. All right, we're in the structure and written expression section of the TOEFL test, and we're going to work with problems with passive, right? Problem with passive verbs. So we read sentences in which the error is an incorrect passive are common in the written expression section of the test. You, therefore, need to be able to recognize the correct form of the passive and to be able to determine when a passive verb rather than an active verb is needed in the sentence. The difference between an active and a passive verb is that the subject in an active sentence does the action of the verb, and the subject in the passive sentence receives the action of it. To convert a sentence from active to passive, two changes must be made. One, the subject of the active sentence becomes the object of the passive sentence, while the object of the active sentence becomes the subject of the passive sentence. And two, the verb in the passive sentence is when we put in the helping verb be in the same form as the verb in the active sentence, and then add in the past participle of this verb. For example, Margaret wrote the letter. So Margaret, subject, wrote, that's the verb, the past tense, the letter, right? So Margaret is subject, and the letter is the object of the action of the verb write. So it's past tense, wrote. Margaret wrote the letter. That's active voice, right? So the first example is an active sentence, right? Margaret wrote the letter. To convert this active sentence to a passive sentence, you must first make the subject of the active sentence, Margaret, the object of the passive sentence by using by. Look at that sentence. The letter was written by Margaret. So Margaret goes from being the subject to becoming the object of the preposition by. The object of the active sentence, letter, becomes the subject of the passive sentence. Wrote the letter, so the letter becomes the subject in passive sentence. Because wrote is in the past tense in the active sentence, the past tense of the verb be, was, is used in the passive sentence. Mary wrote the letter was written by Margaret. Right? The verb wrote in the active sentence is changed to the past participle written in the passive sentence. It should be noted that in a passive sentence, by plus the object does not need to be included to have a complete sentence. We only include by phrases when it's important to give credit to whomever did the action. Okay, so we got Margaret wrote the letter, active voice, subject, Margaret, action, wrote, object, the letter. But in passive voice, we're focusing more on the object of the letter was written by Margaret. We always use some form of the verb be, and the verb be is going to match the tense of the main verb in the active sentence. The main verb in the active sentence changes to past participle in passive sentence. Okay. It should be noted that in a passive sentence, by plus the object does not need to be included to have a complete sentence. The following are both examples of correct sentences. The letter was written yesterday by Margaret, or the letter was written yesterday. Notice that these passive sentences are correct if by Margaret is included, as in the first example, or if by Margaret is omitted, as in the second example. Okay. So if we give credit, we say by Margaret. If we don't give credit, then we just say the letter was written yes. Because in passive voice, we're more focused on the process than on who did what, you know. In active voice, it's very important to say who did what. But in passive voice, we're more concerned of what was done to whom, or, you know. Okay, so we move on to skill 37. Use the correct form of the passive. One way that the passive can be tested on TOEFL test is simply with the incorrect form of the passive. The following are examples of passive errors that might appear on TOEFL test. For example, the portrait was painted by a famous artist. The project will finish by T. In the first example, the passive is formed correctly because the past participle painted should be used rather than the present participle painted. This is incorrect. It should be painted. In the second example, the verb be has not been included, and some form of be is necessary for a passive verb. So the project will be finished by T. The verb in the second sentence should be will be finished. So here we have a chart that outlines the way to form the passive correctly. We got some form of the verb be, plus the past participle form of the main verb, and if necessary, say by whom or by what was the action. All right, exercise 57. Each of the following sentences has a passive meaning. We're going to underline twice the verbs that should be passive, and then indicate the sentences are correct or incorrect. Let's look at the examples. Number one, the boy had never been stung by a bee. Okay, so this is passive voice, and this should be in past participle. You know, the boy had never been stung by a bee. So, incorrect. The suits were hung in the closet when they were returned for the cleaning. So we got the verb be, and the main verb in the past participle. Past participle. So this is okay. All right, now it's time for you to pause the video, complete the exercise. And when you finish, come back and check what you did. Pause the video now, and I'll be here when you come. Okay, now that you're back, see, money is lending by the credit union to those who want to buy homes. Okay, so we know that we don't use a present participle, we use a past participle. So it should be lent. Money is lent by the credit union to those who want to buy a house. The record had been chose. Yeah, here we are. Problem is not chose, it's chosen. The record had been chosen by the answers to the U-box. The document research paper should have been approved by your advisor. This is correct. That song has been playing over and over again by Steve. Okay, so again, it's not present participle, it's past participle. Should be that song has been played over and over again by Steve. The utility bills have been increased again and again. So we got the correct form of the verb be after the they have, and the main verb past participle. Yes. The patients who are too sick to sit up are being assisted by the orderlies. Okay, this is a passive voice in present continuous. It's fine. The offices were thoroughly cleaned last evening by the night crew. So here you got the form of the verb be, but the main verb should be in the past participle. So it should be clean, thoroughly cleaned last evening by the crew. The car that was struck in the intersection yesterday is being repaired today. So we got the verb be, the past participle, and the past participle. So this is 5. Okay, so take a look at what you did. Take a look at the answers. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Get back to you. So as usual, if you found this interesting, give it a thumbs up. So it really helps the YouTube algorithm to find us. Consider subscribing to the channel so you can get bigger and stronger. And if you know anyone who can benefit from this type of free tutorials online, please share it with them. And that's it. I'll see you in the next video.